Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Discussions. Another week has flown by, and we are here once again at the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey. And I am here with my co-host and mentor, the one and only, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. I am, of course, James Piranha Madonna of Mega Life 21, the hardest hitting internet talk radio station on the planet. And it is Saturday, July 2nd. July the 2nd, 2011. It is officially 4th of July weekend, 2011. And also on 4th of July, which strangely falls on a Monday. Gee, what a boring day for 4th of July to fall on. It is also me Mutter, and I say Mutter, M-U-T-R, me Mutter's birthday. Actually, it's Mother, I'm sorry. Me Mutter's birthday is also on the 4th. She was born with a bang. Ha-ha. And, yeah, the doctors didn't have to whack her on the ass when she was born. She had the fireworks waking her up. But anyway, of course, Americans never celebrate the national holidays when they involve, let's say like Memorial Day, reflection on the young people who have given their lives for this country.
For corporations.
And unfortunately also for corporations, war profiteering, oil companies, like with Iraq and Afghanistan. Now they don't reflect on that. They look at an excuse to get drunk and to gorge themselves with food and to get bombed out of their minds. And I don't think they really have a clue on what any of these national holidays are all about, including Labor Day, so on and so forth. Now, me trusted imported Blackthorn Irish Shillelagh is here to, in fantasy, whack right-wing conservatives over the head, over the skull.
That's like that. That's
my
like
prop.
It's like that game, right? With the moles, they keep popping up through the holes and you keep knocking them down.
I can also use it as a nutcracker if I want to eat some walnuts or, pecans or almonds or whatever. But anyway, besides 4th of July weekend, which incidentally, I will never be caught in bumper-to-bumper traffic for hours on any holiday weekend in the summer. It happened to me once, never again. Sitting there with the sun beating on your car, breathing in carbon monoxide, it's not worth it. The highways are very desolate right now in northern New Jersey. Now, the name of this show this week, I think, is a good one. Just say yes. Just say yes. You hear that? Just say yes to the millionaire's tax. What do they call it? The millionaire tax or millionaires?
Frankly, that's old news. Because they said no to the millionaire.
Well, that's why I'm saying yes to the millionaire's tax. Because that's a big part of the problem. Now, before I address that, I would like to say that Medicare, Medicaid, and charity care is a big joke. They suck. It's almost like they have a built-in sabotaging mechanism to not to work. Because, first of all, if you're poor, if you're a po-folk in America, in this wonderful democracy, this God's country that right-wing conservatives like to call it, okay, if you're poor and you get sick...
They don't call it a democracy, though. It's
not anymore. It's a republic. Yeah. Why don't they just call it what it is, a corporate plutocracy republic or something like that? Anyway, you're sick, you go to the hospital. Of course, you don't have health insurance. Even if you were middle class and probably just got laid off, maybe you don't have health insurance in that situation either. Go to the hospital, you see the astronomical bill that you get and you apply for charity care and or Medicaid. Well, guess what? Collectively, even Medicare, they do not pay for everything. And when I say everything, is many necessary procedures, tests, treatments, whatever, that are necessary to, that are targeted to your affliction, that you need, that the doctor orders. We need a chest x-ray. You're having a problem with your right shoulder? We need an MRI, whatever, or an x-ray on your right shoulder. We need a blood test, complete blood test. Blah, blah, blah. You go and you get it. You whip out your Medicare or Medicaid or charity care card. And guess what? The hospital still generates a bill, and you still get slapped with a bill that is most likely going to be in the hundreds of dollars in amount. And if you're poor, you can't pay it. How the hell are you going to pay $500 in addition to your charity care card if you happen to be poor? How are you going to do it, especially if you don't have a job? You know, since your federal extensions to unemployment ran out and they're not giving you any more, how are you going to pay it? So it's either the insane greed of the American hospital CEOs trying to suck and extract more money out of poor people that don't have it, and then chase you with bill collectors, or it's a combination of Washington, making it look good, so maybe Democrats can get votes. We have some social programs. We have Medicaid. We have charity care. How wonderful. But they don't pay it. They don't pay the bill. Now, how's the poor going to pay it? I don't know. So it sucks. The U.S. healthcare system really sucks unless you're an elitist and you haven't been laid off from your job yet, and you're making a decent buck and you have your own health insurance. So far, until you get laid off. So, basically, that's that. You have any take on the U.S. healthcare system and the social services that the poor are so lucky to have?
It's just crap, okay? That's all. We are too poor. This country is too poor to do what the other industrialized countries can do, and that is universal health coverage for all.
Yeah, like European Union and Canada. Well, the Democrats, the blue dog, scumbag, traitorous, moderate to conservative Democrats said no to the public option when the main issue was Obama healthcare reform. They said no. When they run for election, they sound liberal. But forget it. They said no. So the two-party system consists of elitists that said no to you, the little guy, the American poor, American middle class, who just got laid off and lost their job, whatever, and possibly had their homes foreclosed. They said no to you. So why do you keep on voting two-party system? Why don't you get behind a good, progressive, liberal, compassionate, independent candidate? Draft one if you have to. That's what you got to do. Now, leading into the title of the show, before the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman starts reading the newspaper articles, which I am sure will raise my blood pressure from time to time, like they always do, I want to talk about the whole point about just say yes to the millionaire's tax. Now, of course, Washington, collectively, Republicans, and Democrats collectively said no to the millionaire's tax. What did Obama say, by the way? Did he say yes, no, maybe? He's not decided?
He wants taxes. He wants waste and fraud to be taken care of. He's got a $400 billion, whatchamacallit. He also says something from the military. Yes, something. But the Republicans, of course, have said all taxes are off the table.
Well, of course, the Republicans, when they talk about wasteful taxpayers' money, they never talk about the military or all the war profiteering.
No, the waste is in the welfare budget.
The waste is always compassionate programs to help the poor, according to right-wing conservative Republicans. It's never what really needs to be trimmed, like the military severely, okay, or welfare. Giving welfare to the rich, to the corporations, to the elitists. Oh, that's not wasteful. Which never creates jobs in the United States, by the way, because your jobs are being outsourced. So, it's like total hypocrisy. And plus, they love to use taxpayers' money for their own personal benefits, their own, luxuries, and paying off their buddies, their contributors to their campaign contributions. Now, back in the day when America's economy and job market was very prosperous, during the good old days of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Harry Truman, and Dwight D. Eisenhower, we had a very fair 91% tax rate on the rich, which the rich should carry the tax burden, not the middle class or the poor, because in order for the country to be prosperous, you need to put money back into the pockets of the true consumer, which is the little guy, middle class, and the poor. And the mom and pop stores, small businesses, emerging growth companies, entrepreneurs, they are all in the middle class classification. They are middle class. I guess if you're making $250,000 or less, you're considered a middle class small business, or are you considered a big shot? At 250 grand or more, you're a big shot. You're a big shot.
I think middle class in New Jersey is probably $60-some thousand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, which is not a lot by the if you compare it with.
It's not a lot also when you figure that like 50% of Americans who are working make less than that.
Yeah. Well, when you consider it part of the high cost of living, when you compare it to the high cost of living, the average American salary, 60 grand is not 60 grand like it used to be. And of course it was, now listen very carefully, you foolish lemmings, you Tea Party idiots that voted Republican last November for the Congress. It was Ronald Reagan that shifted the tax burden from the rich to the middle class and the poor. It was not the fault of liberal Democrats in Washington that messed everything up. Between that and Bush, sending all the money into the military and so on and so forth, and all the welfare for the corporations, that's what messed it all up. It was Ronald Reagan that did it, not the Democrats. They're all lies, and of course you believe it. I don't know why. You believe it.
Oh, Ronald Reagan was a god for them. God.
Yeah, a political icon. He was like an American hero.
Yeah.
And
want to put his face up there on Mount Rushmore with the other four.
Yeah. Why is his face not on Mount Rushmore? I mean, we need the original 91% tax rate on the rich back, and the rich should pay the tax burden because they're rich. And even if they pay the tax.
Not only because they're rich, but the fact of the matter is, in 1913, when we instituted the income tax,
right,
it was instituted on people who had money.
Yeah. The more money you made, the more taxes you paid. If you don't like
Very simple.
If you do not like paying more taxes, then I'll let you say it.
Don't make no much money.
Don't make no much.
No much. Don't make so much money.
Don't make so much money. Conservatives and elitists and rich people out there in America.
Yeah,
you don't like
sit on a corner and be lazy and eat a watermelon like they accuse the poor of doing.
They always talk about, like, if you listen to Balloon Boy Chris Christie, you always hear about the hard-earned money of high-income people, our hard-earned money. Let me tell you something. You only work probably to make your first, $1 or $2 million? After that...
and the rest is, whatchamacallit taxes, capital gains. and then you're paying like maybe 15%, just like some poor slob.
Yeah, but after you make your first 1 or 2 mil, doesn't your money make money for you?
That's what I'm saying.
And you
pay capital gains then. You don't pay
No.
income taxes per se.
No.
And you're paying less than a poor person. A poor person, the tax setup right now is 15% for a poor slob.
Oh, man. I mean,
No.
yeah, General Electric paid no federal income taxes last year. I mean,
many years, even as far back as Reagan.
many years. But the point is this. Oh, yeah, a middle-class small business owner pays a lot more in taxes than a big corporation. But the thing is this. They don't work hard for their money. It's a lie. It's a lie. Their money is making money for them with their investments. They can live off the interest. A rich person in America, let's say Chris, you know what? It's more appropriate to pick on Chris Christie because he's the poster boy for Republicans. You know, he exemplifies mean-spiritedness, stinginess, greed, gluttony, bully, political bully, obnoxious, loud. If Chris Christie took his $3.8 million, which is the net worth of him and his wife, projected, give or take, around 3.8 mil, it's probably 3.8, blah, 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 whatever. He could take that if he wanted to. Let's say we were blessed. Let's say New Jerseyites received a blessing from God and Chris Christie was not reelected. If he keeps on doing what he's doing, he might not be for a second term. And Chris Christie all of a sudden is bored. He has all this time on his hands. Chris Christie, a conservative millionaire, can take his $3.8 million and stick it in a triple tax-free municipal bond or money market mutual fund and sit on his ass and gorge himself with his favorite foods and still most likely, earn a pretty decent high income off the interest alone.
I wonder how Blue Boy would do on Monday on the Nathan's Coney Island hot dog eating contest.
How come Chris Christie never enrolls in that?
That's what I mean. I think he'd be a good competitor to that Japanese guy. Who won last year?
The skinny Japanese guy? I don't know.
No, the other guy won last year.
What about Man versus Food? Adam Richman. Why doesn't Chris Christie become a guest star on one of his episodes? I'm sure he could win. You don't win much, by the way. The restaurants give you a T-shirt and they put your name on the wall, on a plaque. Screwing your health up, jeopardizing your health. That's what you get. And another thing these restaurants do, restaurateurs, and it's typical American business. They fill everything up with lots of French fries. They put filler in it. So they can it's an excuse to give you less meat. It's typical America, man. Typical that. They lie about their product, they exaggerate, and they give you a lot of filler. And that's basically what they do. Their job is to extract as much money out of the consumer, to rip you off, to mislead you, to lie to you, to dupe you out of as much money as possible. And what do corporate ass-kissing conservative Americans say? Well, that's the American way. That's capitalism. Let the buyer beware, blah, 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 and all this bullshit.
Yeah, and then they complain, though, when it happens to them.
When they're a victim.
Then they want a little regulation.
When it happens to them. They're hypocrites. I was interviewing somebody who was really screwed over, and it doesn't surprise me, by the American retail industry. I'm going to tell you flat out. The company that owns, in America, that owns the Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, this particular store is located in the Bergen Town Center in northeastern New Jersey, in Bergen County, New Jersey, in Paramus, New Jersey. It is the Gap. And this person, it's a type of place that's total and pure office politics. if you do exactly what this egomaniacal female store manager wants you to do, if you kiss her ass, she gives you a few crumbs. But this person dedicated themselves for almost 2 years, and what was her reward? Well, a 20-cent raise and still no benefits at all. That's what corporate America, I think, is becoming, Dr. Bill, where you get shit for pay, no benefits. You get slapped in the face with a lousy 10-cent raise if you're lucky per year, and you hear nothing but complaints, and you get more work and more work and more work and no benefits. Is this the job market Republicans expect us Americans to, like, accept and be happy with? Like working for Walmart or working for the Gap or Old Navy and
As long as those people put money into their campaigns, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, and
they will get the favors.
And another thing,
they will get the lobbying attention.
Yeah, it's all it's a feudalistic oligarch. And by the way, the Gap at the Bergen Town Center in Paramus, there was a pattern with prejudice, racism against immigrants. Everybody who's an immigrant gets mistreated there. But anyway, these are samples of what corporate America has become, is slowly becoming collectively as a whole. This is what your conservative capitalism is all about. But you voted for them last November. So we have an article. Okay.
Yeah, we have an article here about your favorite governor.
Let me guess. Crisco? The Crisco boy?
New Jersey lawmakers sent a $30.6 billion budget and a new tax on millionaires to Governor Christie on Wednesday, challenging the Republican executive to veto new spending items backed by the majority of Democrats. The Democratic version of the budget, with increased education aid and senior property tax relief, passed along party lines after long debates and voting sessions in both the Assembly and the Senate. Christie, however, has said the Democrat spending bill is built on unrealistic revenue figures, and he's also repeatedly vowed to veto millionaires' tax. The state constitution requires a balanced budget in place each year on July 1. There's a lot for the governor to study and review in order to make a determination as to whether the budget can be fixed and brought into balance to fulfill the state's constitutional obligation. At this time, the governor can't be certain if the remedy is the line item veto, or whether he needs to consider sending it back to the legislature. God forbid we make millionaires of this state. We ask, millionaires of this state to make the same sacrifice. But Senator Gerald Cardinale, a Republican of Demarest, said the lengthy debate over the millionaire's tax only helped lawmakers avoid rush hour traffic going home, because Christie has repeatedly said he would reject any tax increase.
You see how they play, the Republicans? There's no compromise. There's never any bipartisanship.
There will be no other benefit, because darn sure this bill, no matter how many votes it gets, is not going to become law.
Yeah, so I don't know why any Democrat wants to work with the Republicans. It's not going to happen. Give it up. Obama, President Obama, give it up. Give it up. Bipartisanship is a bunch of bullshit. It's not going to work.
Christie blocked a similar attempt to hike the income tax on millionaires last year, immediately vetoing a bill that would have tied the increased revenue to senior property tax relief.
Huh.
This year's income tax hike would generate funding for local schools and a tax break on pension incomes for seniors. God forbid we do that.
Shit.
Now, of course, the latest was that Governor Christie did use his veto pen. He's line item veto. See, in New Jersey,
Yeah.
the governor is allowed to take out of the budget anything he doesn't like. He lines it out. And that's what he did with the millionaire's tax.
Well, Christie, yeah, it's funny how he prioritized that.
Yeah.
Chris Christie, and also Chris Christie wanted the cuts to be $30 billion instead of, the lesser amount that the Democrats proposed. Of course, he wants the cuts to be probably from the poor and the middle class.
Well, where else are they going to cut from?
But
Each of these states and the federal government itself does not have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. Not enough money is coming in.
But do you see the corruption and the greed and the hypocrisy and the way Republicans like Chris Christie operate? I mean, they talk about cutting waste, cutting spending, but they don't consider things that help the rich to be waste.
Because people just don't realize what the ultimate goal is. This is not something that each state and different senators or assemblymen come up with. This is a plan. This is a book. This is what they all read from.
They march in lockstep.
They march in lockstep because this is an agenda to destroy the United States government and all of these states so that they can take over and be the permanent party in power forever.
The dictatorship, the feudalistic oligarch, the corporate plutocracy, the oligarch. They want to, and then after the United States becomes a dictatorship of the elitists of corporations. Next, the world.
The world.
And the one world government that Ken Create tells me about, the one world government, where
well, there will be a one world government.
Where the elitists,
according to the Bible,
the elitists
one day
are in control.
But the elitists will not be in control. The spirit beings will be in control.
Huh?
In the millennium, when Jesus comes,
that
he
one world government.
and his spirit beings will be in control.
You're talking about
there will be no humans ever ruling again.
You're talking about something very positive. The millennium, where the elect, the raptured, resurrected elect, with the second coming of Jesus, will come back down to kick ass, and then you would have a 1,000-year rule of a fair world government, the way things are supposed to be.
But that will be one
fair
world government. Yes,
that's a positive.
There will be a try for one world government with the rising of the beast, of course, too.
Yeah, I'm talking about the negative attempt to have a one world government when it controlled by greed, by what the conservatives want.
Now, if I understand correctly, Mr. Gary Null, is going to be doing a investigation of the Bilderbergs and all of these elitists to find out exactly what's going on. Should be coming up within the next week or so.
I wish he also investigates Chris Christie. I mean, isn't it amazing how?
Well, you see, but they can't. Investigating one individual is not the thing. like I say, they all have this playbook that they're going by. You got to understand how this playbook was put in effect for
Right.
at least the last 40 years.
Right.
Definitely the last 30 from Reagan on.
Well, you see, unfortunately, the problem is you take Dr. Gary Knowles' investigations and his shows. You take Michael Moore and his shows. You take Jesse Ventura and his books and his shows. And they don't make it to primetime news and TV. They don't make it to primetime. They're not on any primetime shows. How come MSNBC and CNN at 6 or 7 p.m. or even at 9 p.m., how come they're not having all these people on their program to spill the beans?
Because even MSNBC and what you would term leftist programming, etc., is still under corporations' eyes.
So the
and money.
So the sponsors
dictate
would not like a
That's
Michael Moore or Gary Null or Jesse Ventura. I mean, look what happened when Jesse Ventura's second book came out. You know, the many things that the government does not want you to know.
Yeah,
I didn't see him on any of the primetime shows. I only saw him on Gary Null's program over the internet talking about that second book.
I believe. I'm not sure. Not sure. I believe he was on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart on cable.
Talking about his book?
I believe so.
Oh, really?
I believe I saw that.
Good for him.
Could have been my imagination, but I think
Smart man, Jon Stewart, for having him on. He should also.
But the audience of Jon Stewart is negligible. That's the problem.
Americans are busy watching bullshit. Than they
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore or
Desperate Housewives.
Reality TV.
American Idol.
Or reality TV crap. World's dumbest videos or whatever. World's funniest videos.
Oh, now America's Funniest Videos used to be funny.
Yeah, but it's a
Used to be.
little too corny for me. I like True TV's video show. It's not as corny and family oriented. They show you a lot of stuff, but anyway, this is the
guys
point.
Who blow themselves up and everything.
Jackass.
The jackass.
One of them got killed. I heard.
Yeah, because he was drunk.
I knew that was going to
Driving
happen.
and drunk.
Sooner or later, I knew that was going to happen with those jackass people. But the point is, the gurus that we have that tell the absolute hard-hitting truth are not seen on prime time. They're seen on the internet, or they're seen very late at night. You don't see them prime time or hear from them prime time. And that is the problem. And what does average mainstream idiotic America hear on primetime shows? They hear what the corporate sponsors want you to hear. They hear the conservative propaganda, the bullshit.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and vote Republican.
There you go.
So there we go. Satan's World, the end times. All right.
Continuing, Mr. Christie,
Continuing.
just to get an idea of what exactly happened.
Yeah.
He signed a $29.7 billion state budget on this Thursday, after exercising his line item veto power to cut $900 million in spending and to refuse another 3 bills, including a millionaire's tax.
That's the only thing Chris Christie will ever exercise.
Get
Get it?
Funny.
Funny.
Supposedly he has a personal trainer. Give me a break.
His personal trainer? Is that what he names his favorite fork?
That's probably what it is.
He has a favorite
And the
fork.
only exercise he does is this. Bending of the elbow.
Yeah, that's it. Carpal tunnel of his eating arm.
Oh, God.
Scoop, scoop, scoop. I guess he switches arms, right? Yum yum.
Ambidextrous, right?
No, well,
He's an ambi-spooner.
if he keeps on eating with his his primary hand, then he will become imbalanced. you know, the other arm will be weak. So I think he probably switches the fork to the other hand. That's his workout routine. And that's his personal trainer, is his pet name he has
For his fork.
for his fork.
Claiming Democrats had presented him a budget that makes them look like Santa Claus in an election year.
Santa Claus?
Because you're giving to the poor.
But it's not.
Santa Claus.
Wait a minute. But it's not being Santa Claus when you give to Wall Street corporations and elitists, the Wall Street bailouts. That's
Ain't that something? Huh?
That's not Santa Claus.
Ain't that something? Just a matter of how you look at things, right?
It's relative.
Yeah.
Like I said before, hypocrisy with right-wing conservatives.
Christie struck out any spending that was tied to a proposed 10.75% tax on personal income over $1 million.
There you go.
Boy, that's going to hurt everybody, isn't it? That tax would hurt everybody, huh?
Unbelievable.
Democrats in the Assembly and Senate approved the tax increase on Wednesday, along with the budget. When the tax increase was eliminated, Christie said his cuts totaled $1.3 billion. The governor's cuts will hurt middle-income and low-income families and seniors while protecting millionaires, Senate President Stephen Sweeney said in a meeting with reporters in his office. This budget is cruel and mean-spirited to prove a point that he is in charge, Sweeney said.
A dictator. Egomaniacal.
This is probably the most disappointing day that I've had as a legislator. Christie said his final budget was constrained by revenue estimates certified by the state treasury that were lower than those used by the Democrats.
I bet he was an obnoxious little brat when he was a kid, Chris Christie.
The governor
Spoiled.
also implemented $180 million in targeted business tax cuts designed to promote jobs and economic development. Christie spared $450 million in court-ordered funding to urban school districts. But he cut back Democrat-proposed additional payouts to the K-12 districts statewide, allocating $400 million for those districts. Christie said his final total on schools amounted to $850 million. The state will make a $468 million pension payment in 2012 and will double the current homestead property tax credit, he said. We'll see about that. That credit now totals $404 for homeowners earning up to $75,000. For seniors and disabled earning up to $150,000, the credit totals $540. By the way, that is called a credit, and that only applies to people who already pay the property tax. They will get a credit on their bill. Now, under the other governors before Mr. Hogwart, there was a homestead rebate property tax, which was given to seniors and the disabled.
Okay.
Not as a credit,
Not as a credit.
but as a check. A check.
Interesting. You know, he looks like Boss Hogg. He reminds me of Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard. Called him Hogwart?
I think Hogwart comes from, I'm not sure, but it might come from Harry Potter.
Remember the gluttonous, corrupt, selfish Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard? Chris Christie. He reminds me of him, except I think Christie's heavier and taller. Taller, at least.
Yeah.
And the actor who played, and he doesn't wear that white Colonel Sanders' outfit with the hat.
The cowboy hat.
Yeah,
Yeah, cowboy hat.
remember.
The proposed tax on income over the threshold of $1 million, which would have increased the income tax rate on that top level of income from 8.97% to 10.75%. Do you think it's fair to tax somebody making over $1 million 8.97%? It's pathetic.
So obvious what they're trying to do. Americans can't see. They can't see it. They wake up and smell the coffee or whatever you like to smell, America. You crack of your ass. But the point is, wake up, man. You know, the country's going to hell in a handbasket, which is actually prophesied in the Bible anyway.
The tax would have affected roughly 16,000 millionaires. Christie argued that a majority of those filers had income that was partly small business income.
Mm-hmm.
So what? It's big income, isn't it? I don't care if it's generated by a small company that you say is small. If it's making that much money, it ain't small.
Big income is big income. If you don't want to pay more taxes, don't make more money unless the Republicans control your state in Washington. Then, of course, if you're wealthy, you don't pay anything. You're living in a corrupt society. So,
a restoration of an earned income tax credit for low-income workers, which would have increased credits by margins, bringing them to 25% of federal levels, would cost the state an extra $45 million. So, there. The lower people did not get any benefit from Mr. Christie's examination of the budget. But the big boys did.
of course.
The big boys did.
Of course the big boys did. What else is new? It doesn't surprise me. That's why I seem so relaxed this Saturday for 4th of July weekend. And even though those of you in the future, you know, like time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. Doo, doo, doo. If you watch these videos in the future, and you know Chris Christie is no longer the issue, well, guess what? It still will be applicable in the end times to America, because this is the very nature of conservative right-wing Republicans. This is their agenda, regardless if it's Christie or not. Now it's Chris.
The names change, but
yeah,
the results stay the same.
now it's Chris Christie. In the future, it'll be somebody else obnoxious and stingy and mean-spirited and greedy and all the above. Still the same. Oh, by the way, before we take a break, because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is ready for his lunch, as usual, and then I will do promo, of course, I just want to say, hey, the both of us are wearing green today. No, that's a coincidence. We both have green shirts.
This is like army green?
It's not jade. It's like
Not jade.
not
Jade,
forest.
Jade. Come on.
Like a deep olive.
Olive.
Olive
Green.
Olive green. I
Olive
guess
green.
it is.
Olive green.
I like deep greens. Of course, this is what I wore during our St. Patrick's Day special when I had the crazy emerald green sunglasses on. Remember that? But anyway, let's take a break, and I'll do promo.